Hey, I'm Brianna Kay, and today I'm going to show you how to take one style of a puff stitch hexagon granny, create 7 of them, and make a wonderful bag. Super simple. Let's dive in. We've got a really fun project coming your way today, and this is the 7 hexy granny bag. It's really fun to make, and you can already see that we have it in 2 different sizes, but guess what? It's the same amount of work. It's just changing up the hook and the yarn. So let's talk about the supplies today. For this smaller bag, I use the Upcycle Alpaca worsted. This matches a cardigan I did. I use this same yarn. It's really fun. And this is in the worsted weight. I used a size G hook for this size bag, as well as a leather strap that I have linked in the pattern that I simply purchased online. Now for this one, I went with a cotton. I used the Billow bulky weight, and this one has less stretch to it. So since we've got a cotton, there's less stretch, and it uses a 5.5 millimeter hook to create this, but the exact same instructions on both of these, and I also found the strap online, and I have a link for that in the pattern. But you really can use any strap you want. And I just want to say too, if you're ever at a thrift shop, look at straps, because you can actually pick them up for a really great price. So you might find something at a thrift shop, or you might have a bag you no longer use, and you can grab the strap off of that as well. For this pattern, you will also want a pair of scissors, a stitch marker, and a yarn needle to weave in those ends. And then you'll see that I've already got some of these hexagons blocking on this really cool blocking board where I can block several at once. They just air out, and I can adjust the pegs as needed. I love this. It just makes it so quick and easy to block, especially when you're talking a shape like a hexagon, because we have got these holes that help us get that there. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to be making this bag again on camera today. I'll be using this darker color for the outside, and then this color for just one pop on the inside. This one's in a solid, but as you can see, this one I used 2 tones. I thought it was kind of fun. This only takes 7 of these granny hexagons, and then we place them together. So you're not making a billion, it's just 7. And then we will place those together, slip stitch those together, and make a really cute bag. So let's get started on going over how to make one of these hexagons. Now, if you are following along and doing a 2-toned bag, we will be making 5 hexagons in this darker color and 2 in the lighter color. So I'm going to show you how to make a hexagon on camera today using this lighter color. We're going to get started with our 4 millimeter hook because I'm using the worsted weight yarn. You would use a 5.5 millimeter hook or whatever hook works best that you think for a different weight of yarn, like a bulky weight, and have your stitch marker close by. We're going to go ahead and we're going to start with a magic ring, or it's also called a magic circle. I have a tutorial on this if you've never done it. It works great. I like to start mine with a slip stitch, and now I'm ready to work into this magic ring. I'm going to start with what's called a stacked single crochet. We're going to insert our hook into the ring, yarn over and pull up that loop, yarn over and pull through 2. And now we're going to go right back into that left bar we just made, yarn over and pull up a loop, and yarn over and pull through 2. We're going to want to mark the top of the stitch. It's easy to misinterpret this stitch because on the side of it here, it looks like this could be a stitch, but it's not. This is what's giving us the height of this to match all of our double crochet stitches. So we have done 1 stacked single crochet, and now we are going to double crochet 11 into this ring. This will mean at the end of this round, we will have a total of 12 stitches. If you want, you can follow along with the written pattern, or I also have a chart that if you prefer to work off of charts. Now, after working 11 double crochets into this magic ring, we have a total of 12 with that stacked single crochet at the beginning. We're going to grab our tail and we are going to pull this ring closed. Now, sometimes I don't like to pull it all the way closed because I'll like having either the detail, the circle in here, or I'll work the next round and then tighten it down because it makes the next round a bit easier if we don't tighten it all the way yet. Now for our next round, we are going to be working a special style of puff stitch here. We're going to insert our hook into the very first stitch of the round, and we're going to do we're going to start to do a stacked single crochet. So I'm going to pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, insert my hook back into that stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, but we're going to pause right here because we've made like the first part of what we want to make for this puff stitch. Then we're going to yarn over, insert our hook right back into that stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. Now we're going to do that again, yarn over, insert into the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. And this is how we're going to start this round. If you want, you can always chain two and then do a puff stitch and not count the chain two, but this just kind of integrates it into that stacked single crochet there. And then we can yarn over, and you can pull through all the loops, or you can yarn over and pull through the loops until the last one and then yarn over and pull through two. Sometimes when I do it that way, I find this pops a little bit better. And then we are going to mark that stitch. And now we are going to chain one, and we're going to do a puff into the very next stitch. So we are going to yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, repeat that again, and repeat that one more time. We will have a total of 7 loops on this hook. Then we can yarn over and pull through all of them except the last, and then yarn over and pull through 2. I love doing it this way. I just feel like it really tightens it down on top of the stitch and really helps that puff. Then we will chain one and then do this again. So we're going to be chaining one and doing a puff stitch all the way around. Now, as we continue to work this all the way around, at the end of this round, we will have a total of 12 puff stitches and then 12 chain one spaces. So now that I've worked to the end of round 2, I can go ahead and tighten that magic ring. You can weave that end in if you would like. And now we're ready for round 3. This might curl a little bit after round 2. That's okay. It's going to be just fine. I'm going to move my stitch marker. And we are going to be slip stitching to the very first chain one space. So we've got this chain one space here. And now in the chain one space, we are going to start with doing one of those stacked puff stitches. So we start to do that stacked single crochet, but we stop and we have 2 loops left on the hook. And then we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, do that again, yarn over and insert and pull up a loop. And we have a total of six loops on the hook for this first stitch. I'm going to yarn over and pull through till the last loop. Now I have 2, yarn over and finish that off. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mark this stitch as the first one in this round. Then what we are going to do is we are going to chain one, and we're going to do a puff stitch in that same chain one space. So we're going to do a puff stitch into that chain one space, and this is what's going to start to shape this into that hexagon shape. Now we're going to be skipping the next puff stitch, and we're going to go right into that next chain one space, and we're going to do a puff stitch, chain one, and puff stitch. And we're going to repeat that into every chain one space around. So we'll do a puff stitch, chain one, and puff stitch right into that chain one space. And we'll keep working that all the way around. And this will increase our stitches because we are working a puff stitch, a chain one, and a puff stitch into every single chain space around. Now that is the end of round 3, and now we have round 4, and this is actually our last round for this. So these are really quick to work up. We're going to slip stitch into the first stitch, and we're going to go over to the very first chain one space in this round, and we are going to do a stacked single crochet and then mark that stitch. And then in this very first chain one space, we're going to continue to do 2 more double crochets, chain one, and then 3 double crochets all into that chain one space. And now in the next chain 1 space, we're going to do 3 double crochets. And now we're going to talk about the repeat that will happen the rest of the way around. In the next chain 1 space, we are going to do 3 double crochets, chain 1 and 3 double crochets all into that chain 1 space. This is what kind of creates those edges, those sharper corners on the hexagon shape. And now in the next chain 1 space, we simply do 3 double crochet stitches, and that's going to be our repeat around. So we're going to work in the next chain 1 space, we will do 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets, and then the next chain 1 space, we simply just do 3 double crochets. And we're going to repeat that all the way around. Now at the end of this round, we can go ahead and grab our scissors and fasten off. The reason why I haven't slip stitched to join this yet is because when I get to this last round, I prefer to do what is called an invisible join, and that way we are not sure where we started this round. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this through and then place the yarn onto my yarn needle. And so we've pulled through. I'm going to move my stitch marker. So we're not going to be working into this first stitch. We're actually going to be placing our needle through the second stitch of this round. And then we're going to pull this not too tight. We're making a mock stitch above the first stitch of the round. So we're not adding any stitches. We're keeping our stitch count the same. But by going through the second stitch, and then we're going to go right back down through this top center of the last stitch worked of this round, this will create a mock stitch on top here that sits on top of our first stitch of the round so that we're not messing with our stitch count and you really can't tell where we started and stopped. And then I'm going to weave in my end and block this. So blocking is really important when it comes to if you're working granny squares or granny hexagons because it will help when it comes to holding its shape if we block it, which makes it so much easier when it comes to joining these together. So once you've made your 7 hexagons, come on back and we will go through how to join these together to shape it into a bag. So now once you have made your 7 hexagons, it is time for us to join these together. Once again, you can do it in all solid. I'm going to make it where I have a different color that's going to be in the center of all these hexagons. And you don't have to join it the way I'm going to join it now, but in whatever order you want to do it in, that's fine. But I want to show you my favorite way, which I really like for this pattern to join it. So I've laid these out, and what will happen is this will go on the back side here. And I'm going to put all these edges to this one hexagon so we can kind of see how this goes. So we will join at these edges here, and then we're going to join across these other edges, folding these as we go. Because what will happen is every single one of these hexagons will fold in half, and we are going to be joining all along the half edges like so. So I would seam from here to here and also to here. It'll make more sense as I get going here, but you just have to imagine that this is the bag and each one of these outside ones will fold in half as we do it, as you can see here with this in the center. So what we're going to do here, we'll also be doing with the center on this back side as well. So all of these hexagons are folded in half, and you can see I did a seam all the way around the center. Then I joined across, weaving in ends as I went. I would like join and cut. And then on the other side, when I was towards the end, I seamed this again. So I will walk you through those steps. But once again, as long as you're getting that shape, you are fine. So what I like to start with doing is I like to join all of these 5 colors to this center one, leaving one open because this side will be the top edge of our bag where we can put stuff in. So I'm going to start by grabbing 2 of these. I'm going to throw these off to the side for a second, and we're going to focus on these 2 right here. Now the join I love using, and you can use a different one, but I love using the flat slip stitch join. I just love the way that it looks. So this is how I do it. I like working in the back loops only, and I'm going to insert my hook into the back loop only on one corner of this hexagon. And then I'm going to insert it in the back loop only in one corner. So the chain 1 stitches of this hexagon. And then I'm going to grab my yarn and I'm going to pull it through both. Don't pull it all the way. We're going to leave the tail end hanging out to weave in later. And now we're ready to work by joining these two edges together. Now I like to work opposites. So what I mean by that is I went down this side first and then I went down this side. So now I'm going to go down the left side first, back loop only, and then turn and insert my hook down the right side of the back loop only, and then yarn over and pull through both. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to show you a couple more times here. So now I'm first going to enter on the right hexagon through the back loop only. Then I'm going to go to the left hexagon and insert the next stitch through the back loop only. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull through all the loops on my hook. You can already see that this is starting to make a really nice flat looking seam here. And we're just going to keep working that way. So on this side, back loop only. On the right side hexagon, back loop only, yarn through, pull up loop. And this is where my yarn really is being pulled up from underneath. I keep my yarn underneath here and it works quite nicely. So now I'm going to go down the right side and then the left side into the back loops only, yarn over and pull through. And we'll just keep doing that. Now, if you just wanted to work by going down the right side first every single time, you totally can. I like doing it this way just because I feel like it evens it out each time I do it so that one side doesn't stick above the other, but it's not a major difference. It's just me being a little bit picky. And now that I'm to this next corner, I'm going to grab my next hexagon. So I've gone down the chain 1 stitches of both sides here. And now I'm going to grab this one and I'm also going to go down through a corner chain 1 stitch of this side. So I'm going through all 3 at once. And then I'm going to grab my yarn from underneath, yarn over, and pull through all the loops on the hook. And now I'm going to turn a little bit here and I'm going to do exactly what I did right here. And I'm going to do that for all 5 hexagons around. So I'll just keep working and we're leaving these unattached right here so far. But now I'm going to work across these, joining these until I get to the next one and then do the exact same thing. So just slip stitching through those back loops only, keeping that joint nice. This really does, if you can see it here, this really has such a nice look to it. It kind of pops the area between these hexagon. It's really, really clean and it looks really fancy to me. So I'm going to do that for all 5 hexagons around and then I'll come on back. So now that I have joined all 5 of these together, I fastened off my yarn here after going around. And now I'm going to start to do more joining of these hexagons from the inside out. So when I do that, I want to show you, I joined my yarn here and now I'm working across this first side and then I'm going to do these edges together. So every single time you start to work from one of these points going down these hexagons, you'll do one side of the hexagon and then another side of the hexagon. So 2 sides of each hexagon working out. So let me finish off this side and show you what I mean. And then we fasten off our yarn after we work 2 sides and you'll see that this starts to take shape because it will cause it to fold in on itself naturally. So it'll start to take that bag shape. You can tell as I work along this side, it's already starting to form a point here, and that's what it naturally will do. So now as I work that last chain 1 back loop, so kind of that point of the hexagon, I can go ahead and pull my end through and fasten off. And you can see how it has created this really funky point here. And what happens is we start to fold there. That's what shapes the bag. So we're doing it around those 2 edges. So I'll just keep doing that for in between all these points along this bag. So I'm simply going to join my yarn to the next sides of the hexagon. I just go through as tight as I can to this corner, going through both back loops and then pulling through, leaving a tail to weave in later. A little bit longer there. And then we're just working back and forth between those back loops only, and this will really start to curl in. The more these edges you do, it's going to take shape as that bag. So I'll work across here, and then I'll work across the second side and fasten off again, and it will just continue to create and fold in on that bag shape. So now that we have done these sides, we can see that it's folding in, and on the opposite side, we just have an opening to place this hexagon. So now what I will do is I will kind of tuck these in. You can weave these in now if you want, or you can do them all at the end. That's completely up to you. But we will take this, we will insert into here, grab your yarn and slip stitch all the way around those 5 edges and then weave in all those ends. Now that we have everything slip stitched together, there's one more thing we're going to want to do, and that's to slip stitch around the top opening of this. What that does is just kind of finish it off quite nicely and makes it a nice edge. So I'll work through the back loops only and simply slip stitch in each stitch along that top opening. Now, once you've slip stitched all the way around, you can fasten off and grab your tapestry needle. And I always love to do an invisible join wherever I can. So we will insert our needle through the next stitch here as if we were going to crochet it. And then we're going to pull that all the way through. And then we're going to go down through the very top of the last stitch and then pull that. We're making a mock stitch there and finishing it off quite nicely and weaving in our ends. Now, the only thing left for this bag is the handles, and you have a couple of options here for the handles. So on these other ones, as you can see, I chose to do a handle I purchased online. The other thing too to remember, I've done this in the past, if you are at a thrift shop and you're looking at bags, you can actually look at a bag that maybe the bag's beat up a little bit, but the handle's still nice, and you can take them off of other bags. These are simply removable. Now, the way that I attach these is I created a smaller I-cord here and then stitched it onto the bag. For this one, I've decided to make a longer I-cord, worked the same way, and I'm just going to use it as a yarn cord. If I didn't want to purchase a separate handle, that's a great way to do it. I can use the yarn I have and I can create a really long I-cord or however long that you want and create a handle. Since this bag is quite a cute small size, you could also consider a smaller handle for a handheld bag versus one that is a strap. And as you can see with this billow one, I did the I-cord for a small section. I just did a small I-cord and then stitched that on, and then I can attach and remove these handles as I like, which is also fun because you can change the look of your bag by switching out the handles. And if you want a more in-depth tutorial on those I-cords, I also have that tutorial on my blog as well. And then, of course, attaching any tassels or accessories are also really fun to do with these bags too. And these were really fun to make because it's only 7 hexagons, which is awesome. And then you have a really, really cute bag. And you can really make these with whatever yarn you want. You can use some stuff in your stash, bulky weight, this worsted weight, whatever you would like to do. Thank you so much for joining me today. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and share your projects with me online, and come back for some more fun projects soon.